talking about that, like at the agency level, it doesn't seem like things are working. Like you've got the acting head got kicked out, and you've got the replacement now. This is David Richardson. He warned staff in a meeting to try not to impede upcoming changes, saying, "I will run right over you," while also suggesting policy changes that would push more responsibilities to the states. I'm not sure if this is the right guy for the job, but whether he is or not, you've got, it seems, huge holes here where you've got no emergency disaster declarations and no real personnel on the ground in these places that have just had emergencies.
Yeah, and that's by design, right? They realize that they have the Stafford Act, which is in statute. So what they're doing is they're not issuing declarations so that the Stafford Act doesn't get triggered. Look, even Governor Huckabee of Arkansas, who worked for the president, had problems for weeks on getting that declaration. So that's by design. Look, the new interim administrator who they picked, doesn't have any FEMA experience. He does have experience in weapons of mass destruction, which is interesting because Kristi Noem has dropped the bomb on the agency. And so, what I would say is that this was an agency that needed help and needed reform.
Donald Trump ran on one campaign promise that he would lower your prices. And in the beginning of his presidency, not only did he not do that, but he's done the opposite. Tariffs have made everything more expensive. And now, Donald Trump is going to make your entire life more expensive with his giant cuts to Medicaid. Donald Trump has gone so far in breaking his campaign promises that even Republicans in Congress are turning against him. And amid that civil war, amid the scandals breaking out all over the place, what is Donald Trump doing? He's posting about golf and attacking famous rock stars. In doing so, it is just a complete disaster. What Donald Trump is doing right now, we're going to get into it all and how it's backfiring. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, before we can get into the incredibly weird video Donald Trump just shared that is backfiring in a really bad way. Of course, it's about golf, and a bit of a golf scandal just got brought up that I think is important context.
It's a disgrace that none of my Republican colleagues will speak up against this money for golf, against the obvious and egregious due process violations. I know you. I know you are good people. I know you care about due process. You care about the rule of law. And I know in your private moments, when you think about Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and you see that the administration admitted that he was wrongly deported and sent to a prison in El Salvador, that you know that the president should simply correct the mistake. Bring him back home so he can go through the proper court system. When are you going to speak publicly? When are you going to speak out for simple due process, which is the bedrock of our country? Because now it's going from Kilmar Abrego to American citizens, and who knows when it will be next. Donald Trump's not listening to me, but he will listen to you all. And I urge you to speak up for the good of our Constitution.
Gentleman's time has expired.
There are states right now currently experiencing or recovering from natural disasters. And what is Donald Trump doing? Nothing. He's siphoning funds from FEMA to pay for his golfing trips to golf clubs that he owns. Really just stealing money from the government. But when has that happened in the Trump administration before besides always? And he's doing it from a depleted FEMA that is on the brink of collapse because of Kristi Noem's incompetence. You would think it could not get worse. And this is all part of the many disasters that have so many speaking out against Trump, including Bruce Springsteen, who Donald Trump has been at war with lately. It was the reason for his crazy post lately about golf. You'll see. But first, let's hear what Springsteen most recently had to say. This administration is putting people in harm's way. So there is no surprise why Bruce Springsteen is speaking out. And of course, that had Donald Trump furious. We've covered the back and forth, his angry post, but the latest was the weirdest, also because it's bringing attention to this golf scandal. You just have to take a look. It's so strange. So Trump, who I know he says he always wins his club championships, but let's be real. But we've seen the guy, you know that video of Trump like shanking his chip shot way far right. You know, he can never put well. Like he's always like picking the ball up before it goes in. According to reports of him on the course, the videos of him actually putting that we've seen terrible, embarrassing, and really he's going to hit Bruce Springsteen. But this is what he's focused on right now. This is what he's focused on. He can't get his agenda through Congress. This has been the least productive Congress in history, with one major party holding the presidency, the House, and the Senate. Yet they can't get anything done because their agenda, which they said they had a sweeping mandate for, is terrible. What is this administration besides promises made, promises immediately broken? That's what it is. And people are in real harm's way, especially in red states, not just because of the cuts to Medicaid, but because hurricane season is coming. There are natural disasters all over the place that FEMA is unequipped to deal with, and Jared Moskowitz was calling that out right here.
Florida's director of emergency management under Governor Ron DeSantis, and he joins me now. Congressman, it's good to have you on.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
So, first, I want to just start at the policy level, because I think one way you can view these sort of the lack of disaster declarations, the lack of FEMA personnel on the ground in these places, whether it's in Missouri, Mississippi, or Kentucky, is things are falling through the cracks or incompetence. But it does seem that actually there's a policy agenda here, which is this is not the federal government's job. We want to get rid of FEMA, and the states can figure it out themselves. Is that your understanding of what the Trump administration approach is to emergency disaster response?
Oh, Chris, you're being kind. You're pretending like there's a plan here. Look, there is, always a push-pull, I think, in the staff and the administration between the sane and the insane. And I think the sane people in the administration know that you got to keep FEMA. It needs reform. Look, the president's correct that FEMA needs to be reformed. The emergency management industry has been saying that for a long time. One of those reforms is to get it out of Homeland, which is too bureaucratic. It's too big. It's using FEMA to do all sorts of grants on immigration that they shouldn't be doing. And FEMA's lost its focus on response and recovery. It's why FEMA has gotten slower. And so people have known FEMA needs reform. But then you have these folks, that are in the administration that, want to talk about eliminating FEMA. Let me be clear. If you eliminate FEMA, red states are in very big trouble. Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama go bankrupt if a Category 4 storm comes in from the Gulf of America into there. Those states are done. And so, look, right now, I think the administration started with heavy talk about getting rid of FEMA. Today, they had the FEMA Council, which I support. The president put that together to reform FEMA. And actually, they talked at at that council today for the first time about those reforms rather than elimination.
Okay, but even if they're talking about that, like at the agency level, it doesn't seem like things are working. Like you've got the acting head got kicked out, and you've got the replacement now. This is David Richardson. He warned staff in a meeting to try not to impede upcoming changes, saying, "I will run right over you," while also suggesting policy changes that would push more responsibilities to the states. I'm not sure if this is the right guy for the job, but whether he is or not, you've got, it seems, huge holes here where you've got no emergency disaster declarations and no real personnel on the ground in these places that have just had emergencies.
Yeah, and that's by design, right? They realize that they have the Stafford Act, which is in statute. So what they're doing is they're not issuing declarations so that the Stafford Act doesn't get triggered. Look, even Governor Huckabee of Arkansas, who worked for the president, had problems for weeks on getting that declaration. So that's by design. Look, the new interim administrator who they picked, doesn't have any FEMA experience. He does have experience in weapons of mass destruction, which is interesting because Kristi Noem has dropped the bomb on the agency. And so, what I would say is that this was an agency that needed help and needed reform. And instead what they did was they got rid of 30% of the people who worked there, some of the most senior people who knew what they were doing. And they've turned FEMA into Newark Airport. And I will tell you, we are going to see FEMA not respond if we have a big disaster. If they get lucky and we don't have a big hurricane, or we don't have something like an earthquake, which hasn't happened since the 90s in California, if we don't have something big, they may get lucky. But if we get a Category 3 or stronger storm, along the Atlantic or in the Gulf, I'm telling you right now, you're going to see a Michael Brown situation.
Well, I want to play you. This Josh Hawley, Senator of Missouri, his sound today, basically pleading with Noem on this, was pretty striking. Take a listen.
The state has pending 3 requests for major disaster declarations from earlier storms. We've lost over a dozen people. Actually, if you count the folks we lost just on Friday, we've lost almost 20 people now in major storms just in the last 2 months in Missouri. It's been a terrible spring for us. Here again, can I ask for your help? Will you commit to helping for those 3 major disaster declaration requests that are pending? Will you help expedite those, Secretary Noem, and get those in front of the president, get those approved? We are desperate for the assistance in Missouri.
Yes, absolutely.
And what I'm hearing from you is she may say yes, but they don't want to. The White House doesn't want to.
Yeah, well, I don't know whether the secretary is not giving it to the White House. I don't know. Who the heck knows? But they're not doing it. They're specifically not granting things. And when we get into hurricane season, Chris, there's something called a pre-landfall deck, which is as that Category 3 or Category 4 storm is approaching, you get a deck before it hits. So that way you can start moving logistics, moving resources, moving, life, health, safety stuff. You can move swift water rescue crews. If they don't get that pre-landfall deck, the local governments in the states don't know if they're going to be reimbursed. It will affect their spending. It will affect response. So this is very dangerous policy if they don't figure this out.
That is really something to look for. I hadn't thought of that, but that's a really, really good point for us to stay on. Congressman Jared Moskowitz, thank you very much.
Thanks, Chris.
Donald Trump's administration is putting people in real hair because they just don't seem to care, I guess, is the bottom line. You could say it's because they're incompetent. Sure, that's part of it. It's usually either the evil or it's the incompetence. Kristi Noem isn't just destroying and wrecking Homeland Security because she's evil. It's also because she needs $50 million for a new Gulfstream jet because she's so selfish. So she's depleting necessary funds for people dealing with the worst natural disasters we've ever seen because of climate change, something this administration refuses to respond to. It's almost like the damage compounds, and it only gets worse, and then Democrats have to come and clean it up, and we don't get enough time to clean it up, and then Republicans come in and make it worse, and it's like, maybe we stop electing these people. I don't know. That seems like a good place to close, and we're going to continue to push that message. And if you want to support that on this show, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, you drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.